I hope you are doing well today. In education, we often measure success by numbers. I guess it's the same way in the business world as well. So today, I want to share with you some numbers that are incredibly important in Lexington 1 schools. Now, I was going to start with the number 24-20 because that was the final score when the Tar Heels beat the Gamecocks. So we'll start there, absolutely. It was oddly satisfying to beat South Carolina and live in Lexington, I must admit to you. But some of the numbers we want to share today, we'll begin, we'll get caught up. The first number is the number 6. 3 years ago, or actually 2 years ago, we started the very first computer science immersion schools in South Carolina. And that number, we increased that number to 6 last year. So now Pillion Elementary, Rocky Creek Elementary, New Providence Elementary, White Knoll Elementary, White Knoll Middle, and Beechwood Middle are now all computer science immersion schools. And we are excited about our students learning computer science, especially with the future of technology and what that will look like and those skills. The next number is the number 11. These are the number of lower state and state championships that our athletic teams won last year. I know Naomi, my tiny child, she's 9. She loved following the Lexington High School softball team as they went on to win the state championship. The number 17. In Lexington 1, we have one of the nation's best leadership development programs. And we have had 17 aspiring principal graduates in that program over the last 3 years. And we have many of those graduates are already in principal and district leadership roles. One of the things we cannot take for granted is we cannot hope that we're going to have great leadership in Lexington 1. We have to be purposeful, intentional, and strategic about our leadership development. And that's one of the big things that we've been working on, because we want to make sure that we continue to have great leadership in our schools. And that's something we just absolutely cannot take for granted. 80%. Last year, we changed how we dealt with students who had drug and alcohol offenses in our schools. And we required them, in the past what we did was if you came to school if you came to school drunk or high, what we did was we just sent you straight to our alternative program. And that's how we handled it. What we did was we said, wait a minute, why are kids coming to school under the influence? And so now what we require is individual counseling, we require family counseling, and we require them to have a year's worth of random drug testing. As a result, if they adhere to those standards, they can stay in the environment that where they're connected to the band, they're connected to their CTE courses, their AP courses, whatever they may be. And so what we found is that 80% of the students who participated in that program are still successfully engaged in school. And we think that's a real game changer for us. We have completely changed how we deal with that situation, and our first year has been incredibly successful. Thank you very much. 81% of our students are enrolled in a fine arts class. The fine arts thrive in Lexington. Regardless of the school that you go to, regardless of the community that you live in, the fine arts are alive and well. We have state and national winners in chorus, in band, in orchestra, in drama, in dance, you name it. The fine arts are alive and well in Lexington 1, and we'll continue to grow that as the future goes forward. 90%. Last year we did something also that I think is pretty unique. We have some really long bus rides in Lexington 1, especially in Pillion and Gilbert. And last year in Pillion, we piloted a program called Rolling Study Hall. It was a partnership with Google, and we equipped a number of school buses with Wi-Fi. We put computers on those buses and then paid teachers to ride those buses with kids to serve as tutors. And we called them rolling study halls. And as a result of that work, 90% of the students who participated in that at Pillion Middle and Pillion High School passed all of their classes last year. So we took those hour and a half bus rides and turned it into a productive time in the afternoon. And that's one of the things we're excited about expanding as well as we move forward. 103. Last year, for the first time, the state of South Carolina provided seals of biliteracy on diplomas for students who have mastered their second language. We had the most in the state, and not by just a little bit. We had the most in the state, so much so that we were more than double the number 2 district, which is pretty exciting. So, as you know, in Lexington 1, we have heavily invested in our second languages. We think that is incredibly important. We have 4 different immersion tracks to go on. One of them, my youngest daughter, Naomi, is in the Spanish immersion program. But even if you're not in an immersion program, we have really some of the world's best instruction in second languages for students, and we're thrilled that so many of our students have taken advantage of that. 118. We hired 118 new first-year teachers this year. So if you see a first-year teacher in your child's school, please tell them thank you for choosing education. We need to continue to encourage our young people to choose education as a career, and when they do choose education as a career, we need to support them in any way we can. But we hired 118 new induction teachers. 5,413. These were the hours spent that our elementary and secondary guidance counselors spent working with our students. IGPs are individual growth plans, so every child has an individual growth plan and sits down and works with a counselor. And our elementary school counselors, they've been working on Aaron's Law, which is a new law to help students in abusive situations and to recognize child abuse. And so they are protecting our most vulnerable students. And so we're thrilled about the work that our guidance counselors are doing. 10,000. Now this number is an approximate number because this is the number of gray hairs that I've received since my oldest daughter became a licensed driver. So if you see her driving on the road, I might suggest you slow down and pull over. That's just me. But I'll tell you, when you sit in the car for the first time with your child and she says, "Now, Dad, which one's the gas and which one's the brake?" That's where it started. Oh, my goodness gracious. If you can get through that first part of hanging on for dear life, it actually is pretty good when your child becomes a licensed driver, but you do have to get through that. 17,605. This is the number of devices that our IT department has distributed this year as part of our new MacBook and Google Chromebook initiative. They worked all summer. They did an incredible amount of work. This is also part of the bond referendum that we'll talk about here in just a second. But student devices and work with technology is absolutely essential, and that's what we've been working on. We have to be literate in technology. It's more important than ever that our students are critical consumers of information. Now, like you, I don't like my child on the iPad all day, looking down all the time. Although I have a bad habit of that with my old phone, right? But we don't want them to be slaves to technology, but we want them to be critical consumers of technology. They will need that more and more, especially today. 25,000. This is the miles per day our bus drivers drive. 25,000 miles every day. We run 185 buses. They run all day long, morning, afternoon, and the evening. And our bus drivers, we are very thankful for all that they do. They deliver our children to and from school safely. I want you to imagine this as a job description. We're going to have you sitting in one direction, traveling at a high rate of speed, or at least a rate of speed sometimes. Maybe it's not high rate of speed, but we're going to ask you to look this direction. We're going to put 77 children behind you. We're going to ask you to keep 77 children in line while you're navigating Lexington traffic. I mean, as you can imagine, that's a tough position to fill sometimes. So we're very thankful for our bus drivers and all that they do. They are often the very first smile that a child has when they come to us, and they're the last smiling face that they see when they go home. And sometimes it's the only smiling face that they'll see before they see them again the next day. And so we're very thankful for all their work. 27,315. That is our current enrollment as of yesterday. And we continue to grow each and every day. So we're one of the fastest growing school districts in South Carolina. We now rank 6th in overall enrollment. And since 1988, we have grown by an average of 504 students a year. So while we like to think of growth as a relatively new phenomenon in Lexington, we've been experiencing this level of growth for a really long time. And so that's where we currently are. 231,402. You like my numbers here. They're getting more and more random. And student visits to the school nurse last year. Our nurses are incredibly busy. They run a high operation. Now, this is a lot of runny noses. And when I go visit schools, I go to almost every school every year. And when I walk into the school nurse's office, I'm very careful to maybe keep my distance from whatever is happening in that school nurse's office because, as you can imagine, it's a petri dish in there, and we have to be very careful when you walk in there. 730,298. This is the number of library materials that are circulated through our school libraries. School librarians working with our students to check out books, and it's really cool that we have such people in our school district who are excited about reading and who assist our children develop that love of reading as well. 2,343,750. Cartons of milk served last year in Lexington one school. So when we say milk does the body good, we mean it. We run one of the largest commercial kitchens and restaurants in the community. People don't really think about that a lot when it comes to schools, but we serve so many meals, both breakfast and lunch. We also have a summer feeding program. We do all kinds of things when it comes to feeding our students. One of the critical things is many of our students, school is the one place that they can get a good meal. And we always have to remember that. And so you cannot learn, no matter what you do, you cannot learn if you come to school hungry. And if you come to school and you do not have the right kind of nutrition, it is very difficult to learn. And I'm very thankful for all the things that our child nutrition staff does for our students because they are absolutely essential for the work that we do. 2,400,000. This is the anticipated amount of savings that our families will have in our community because of the expansion of our dual enrollment programs. We partner with USC Sumter, and what that allows us to do is we've taken a dual enrollment program that when I got here, quite frankly, was just not very well developed. And this year we will have over 500 students take over 3,000 college credits, over 3,000 college credits. And that equates to a savings of almost $2.4 million. That those students are taking college classes while in high school, and it doesn't count against their lottery clock. So this has been our families have jumped on this. You know, sometimes in Lexington 1 we have so many choices that it's hard to get through the clutter sometimes because when you get to high school, your children have all kinds of things that they can do and participate in, which is a great problem to have. But what we found is that our families are absolutely hungry and thirsting for these types of opportunities. I can tell you that my oldest child that you just saw a picture of right there, she will be taking 4 college classes this year as part of that dual enrollment program. She'll leave her junior year with 12 college credits. And then we're going to take some more next year. We hope that she will graduate with more than 20 college credits. This is a huge savings, and it really serves as a scholarship. Because I want you to think about this for just a second. Our kids kill themselves over $500 in scholarships, right? They have to write an essay, they do an interview, they do all of these things for $500. And I don't know if you've been to a college campus lately, but $500 might last your first trip to the bookstore, right? Every college class that they take for us is about a $1,200 to $1,500 savings for their family. And so we are really encouraging our students to take more and more of these opportunities. We're thankful for USC Sumter. That has been a great partner. We're thankful for Midlands Tech. They've also been a great partner as we've created these seamless pathways for our students. But this has been a huge opportunity for our students. And I sat with a student last year. She was a first-generation high school graduate. Nobody in her family had ever graduated. And she's sitting there telling us that she will graduate, not only will she graduate high school, but she'll graduate high school with 18 hours worth of college credit. And we know that when our students have already taken college credit and they've been successful in it, guess what they're more likely to be? They're more likely to be successful when they go to college. So this is something we're going to continue to expand. Every year they bring me the numbers and I say, all right, let's do more, let's do more, let's do more. I can't wait till this number is over $3 million for our families. 5,500,000. This is the amount of square feet of facilities that we have in Lexington 1. Now that number has gone up this year. For the longest time we talked about 5.2 million. Now that number has moved to 5.5 million because we've just opened Beechwood Middle School this August. Now Beechwood Middle School has a capacity of 1,200 to 1,500 students. And one of the things that we are purposefully doing, so the Chamber understands this, we are purposefully building larger buildings. Ideally, a middle school is about 800 kids. And so mamas, I recognize that we're building a big school, and sometimes that can be a scary place to send your 12-year-old off to a very large middle school. But what we're working on is this. While it looks big on the outside, we're really designing it to be small on the inside. And so we have worked hard to make that happen because we would never want to lose sight of the fact that your child is the most important thing to you. And so while it looks big, we're actually designing it to feel small. But what this also allows us to do, if we build that 800-person middle school, guess what happens? They're in portable classrooms within a couple of years anyway. And so at least this way, we're making the decision to put everybody under the roof. And so while it's going to look a little bigger than some of our other schools, we think we're actually going to be able to serve your child even better. So here's some pictures. I mean, this thing is, it's only just a few weeks old. So it's pretty. Anybody in here have kids go to Beechwood? So I know we have a couple of folks over here that have already been out there, but it's a beautiful school. This was the open house, I think, that night. It had a number of hundreds of people come into it. Now this is the gymnasium. Now I don't know what the light is like back at the back of the room, but I'm just going to point out something. You may notice something very important about this gym. Anybody want to share what it is? Say again? Oh, is that North Carolina blue? That's the first time I've noticed that. Interesting. Oh, wow. Yeah, you're right. It is. It does sort of look like a particular school in Chapel Hill. I don't know how that happened. Must have been total coincidence. They do have the best looking uniforms though in the whole district. I do want to point that out. And then maybe one of our largest number for sure, our largest number is $365 million. That's the amount of the bond that was passed by our community this November to help us handle the growth that is coming to Lexington 1 schools. I told you since 1988. We've had 504 students a year, which is basically a small elementary school a year moving into our school district. And we had some severe growth needs, and our community stepped up in a big way and passed this bond referendum. And I want to personally thank the Chamber for your support. I say all the time that great schools are only possible because we have a great community. And the investment in our schools and handling this growth is a wonderful example of our community. And sometimes the finance structure in South Carolina pits us against each other. And I appreciate the fact that we continue to work together so that our school district can move forward and our community can move forward together. This helped us handle growth and will continue to help us handle growth in really powerful ways. In 2017, we initiated a 5-year growth plan that the bond was a part of it. You'll notice that we have completed phases 1 through 4, and that the bond referendum represents phase 5, and that is happening as we speak. Some of the bond highlights that I want to make sure that you're aware of is, number one, we absolutely positively improve the safety and security of each campus. That is, safety is our number one priority. My commitment to you in this community is that we will always do what is best for the safety of our students when they come to school each and every day. And I will just say this, I know the last couple weeks we've had a lot of press about students with threats and this kind of stuff in school. But I want you to know that we are committed, we are absolutely committed to handling those situations the right time, every time. And we don't care if it causes a little bad press. What is most important to us is that your child is safe when they come to school. Sheriff Coons in the back, our partnership with the sheriff, our partnership with Chief Green, we are a national model for schools and law enforcement working together to ensure that we are safe. Because we cannot make a mistake. We can't make a mistake. Because the mistake we make could be a huge one. And we're not going to do that. And we're going to work incredibly hard together. And that's our commitment to you. But our safety and security continues to increase. We are going to replace our 3 oldest campuses. Gilbert Elementary, Lexington Middle, and Pillion Middle. These campuses have buildings on them that date back to the 1950s. There's some talk about one of them being for the 1940s. I guess they don't make them like they used to, but that's a long time. And so we're excited to replace those campuses. We will also, as we replace those campuses, we are increasing the student capacity. So again, knowing that growth is coming, knowing that growth is here, we want to make sure that when we replace that campus, we may replace that campus, maybe the capacity is 700 kids, we're going to turn that into a 1,000-kid campus. Does that make sense? So we're going to continue, even though we're replacing them, we're not getting more schools. Those schools will be larger and be able to handle more students. We will also repurpose Gilbert Elementary's campus, Pillion's, and Lexington Middle's campus. We're finalizing those plans now. In Pillion and Gilbert, we're really talking about early childhood development centers. At Lexington Middle School, we have an exciting partnership with USC Palmetto College, among others. And so those plans are coming into focus as we speak. We're also going to build 2 new elementary schools. One elementary school in the White Knoll area and one elementary school in the River Bluff attendance zone somewhere in the town of Lexington to help handle the growth issues that we have. I've taught, really every school in our school district will be touched by this in some form or fashion. I do want to say that White Knoll and Gilbert are really getting some major facelifts, White Knoll especially. White Knoll will have a new performing arts center. Both White Knoll and Gilbert will have new performing arts centers. Now they told me, just to continue this theme, they told me they wanted to call it the Wolf Pack. You know what I said about that? I said, you know, I told them, you can call it whatever you want to, but you're not calling it the Wolf Pack. That's what I told them. But they're having they're doing performing arts centers at both White Knoll and Gilbert. White Knoll, if you've ever been out to White Knoll, there's a really long stretch there of portable classrooms. All of those portable classrooms are going to go away, and there's going to be a new wing there. So again, all of our students at White Knoll will be under one roof, making that campus safer as well. We are going to do a new district transportation facility. I told you earlier we drive 25,000 miles a day. The transportation facility that's currently over on Bar Road, we don't own that facility. That is a state facility, and it's really not a great place for our buses. And so we're looking to find a new transportation facility to house our buses and have a more central location. One of the biggest initiatives of this particular bond referendum was the Classrooms of the Future initiative. We are overhauling the furniture in our classroom. The goal for this is to have flexible, adaptable furniture that is also comfortable. You see the different kinds of seating that we have. I know it's hard for you to believe, but I was one of those children that had a hard time sitting still. And that school desk was tough for me. And so you see some different options in seating. You also see some high-top seating. The feedback from our kids about the high-top seating has been very positive. They like being up. They like standing. They like having the option of doing that, just like you do at work. And one of the things that we also get a lot of good feedback on is right back here. You see this, we call this the collaboration station. You see students surrounding this television screen, this monitor, and they are collaborating on a project and working together. Teachers have really been able to use that space creatively as well. So we're excited about our classrooms of the future. I believe Red Bank was probably our first school to receive that, but we'll be turning that over the next year. This furniture will be entering our schools. Also, just to give you a breakdown, nearly every community is being touched by the bond referendum. Just one particular note, the reason why Lexington is a little lower is because Beechwood Middle School is not part of the bond referendum. And so there were other needs in other places, and so that's being touched. But you'll notice that Gilbert, Billion, and White Knoll, especially those areas, are having much needed improvements to their schools, and that'll be very important for their communities. I do want to tell you we have some projects underway that are currently being built. That is Centerville Elementary School, which will replace Gilbert Elementary School, and it's being built in the northern part of the Gilbert attendance area. Centerville Elementary School, and this is an important thing I want you to walk away with today, is Centerville Elementary School is a prototype school. So its prototype is based on Rocky Creek, Meadow Glen Elementary, and Deerfield. Those are all in the same prototype families. The reason that prototyping is so important for us is because we can get projects off the ground immediately. So while other school districts, for example, not to mention any names, Richland too, but as they pass their bond in November, they are still in the design phase for their bond. Meanwhile, we're breaking ground with major projects, and we're well on their way. By the time they break ground, we'll be almost finished with our schools. And so that prototype is a huge savings for our community because it saves our construction costs. Every year we wait to build something costs us money, and so by using a prototype system, we were able to immediately get started. So you're going to see some of that progress now. There you go. They are already working at it. And then, of course, we have Pillion Middle. You'll notice that Pillion Middle looks a lot like Beechwood Middle because Beechwood Middle is a prototype school. And the same idea applies where you have Pillion Middle School as a prototype as well as the new Lexington Middle School. Those will all three be the same design, and we're able to build and construct those projects much more quickly. So you see some of this progress as well. I mean, you see the walls, and they're already coming up, the classroom wings and whatnot else. If you want to keep track of our building plan, we have a spot that you can go do that. If you will go to this website, go to lexington1.net, go to the About section, you pull it down, you can look at the building plan. This covers every project that we are working on as a part of our bond referendum. You can see pictures, you can see before pictures, you can see after pictures, you can see everything you need to know about that project. So if you're interested in what's happening at Carolina Springs Elementary School, or if you're interested in finding out what's happening at Lexington High School, you can go and pull up those projects and see exactly where they are and what part are they in the design phase, are they in the build phase, or are they in the completion phase. And so you can see all that information at that website. It's really a one-stop shop for you to keep track on what's taking place with your tax dollars as part of the bond referendum. Now finally, I want to leave you with this, because I've talked a lot about numbers today. In this chamber, I believe there are over 800 members, maybe 850 members or so. But we're strongest when we work together as one. Over the next 10 years, it is projected that there will be 70,000 new residents to come to Lexington. But we will be strongest when we work together as one. And we must never forget, with all this growth and all this stuff going on, we must never forget that it will take each of us if we're to empower each child to design the future. And I, again, want to thank you so much for your support of Lexington One School.